of the year that goes down in history, 2020. Special welcome to Elena and Monica to what I believe is their final meeting, and congratulations to you and all of your fellow students. Just last night I recorded my comments for the commencements, and while doing so was just reminded of how special it is to be at those commencements, which all of the Regents have done time and again over the years, and certainly the faculty and staff and administration has as well. There really is no more special and joyful moment than a live commencement, and I'm going to miss that greatly. Nevertheless, in my recording of comments, I did feel a sense of celebration and gratitude for the tremendous efforts of the students in getting to commencement day under these circumstances, and certainly the faculty and staff for getting there with them. If anybody is not muted your phone, please do us the favor of muting your phone. Thank you.
And that would extend to our Regents at this point. Unmute when you need to speak. Thank you.
I'd like to thank the Regents for making the time for this meeting. It's been a busy and rigorous time for you, as it has been for our administration. And I'd like to thank Mark and his team and all of our campus leaders for their efforts during this time as well. Clearly, the COVID crisis has caused everyone to have to react not only to an excellent academic program under unusual circumstances, but to deal with health and safety as well. I'm sorry, Madam Secretary, I cannot hear.
I am going through, and we
myself.
have about 50 calls that are unidentified, and I'm going through and muting them all, sir. Regents, you have my cell phone number. If you're one of the members that I've muted and you can't unmute when you need to speak, you have my cell and text me at that. Thank you. And just about a dozen more to go. Reminders to all the people on the line to mute your call. We are muting you now.
Okay, so let's, thank you, Aaron. Move ahead. We have a very busy agenda. We'll be moving into an executive session for various personnel matters. As usual, those matters can be discussed candidly in that session in ways that one wouldn't want to in public session because of people and individuals involved under our bylaws and guidelines. But we don't vote on those things, so we would be emerging from the executive session around 11 o'clock for a vote on whatever measures are appropriate at that point. Without further ado, why don't I ask the Secretary to call the roll and I think formally declare the quorum and tell us anything else we need to know about the particulars, and then we'll move towards the agenda.
Certainly, Mr. Chairman. A reminder first to all individuals that this meeting is being recorded in compliance with the recent revisions to the FOI open meeting statutes. A link to the audio recording will be available on our website within 24 hours. All lines are being muted. If a member of the board wishes to needs to address the chair, take yourself off mute. I previously announced that you all have my cell phone number. If you have a problem unmuting, text me. As in the past, during the course of the meeting, Chairman Fleury will allow for additional time when asking if there are any questions, comments, etc. And finally, a reminder to all board members and staff, if appropriate, to please remember to identify yourself each time you speak, and for those board members, identify yourself every time you make a motion. Calling the roll, sir. Matt Fleury.
Here.
Mary Harris. No, she's on the line. Merle. going to skip over that. Rich Ducci.
Here.
Thank you. Viva Butt.
Here.
Thank you. Naomi Cohen.
Here.
Thank you. Felice Greg Kemp.
It's called the baby bird. We're hopping around.
Felice, are you on the call? Holly Howery.
Here.
Thank you. David Jimenez.
Here.
Thank you. Joanne Ryan.
Here.
Elise Wright.
Listen to the meeting.
Elena Ruiz.
In the Board of Regents meeting.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, when I'm through with this, I'll go back and mute that call. Still have about 20 more to do. David Blitz.
Present.
Kalina Sasenker.
Here.
Thank you. Commissioner Westby. Commissioner Lehman. Commissioner Cardona. I did hear from Felice Gray Kemp. She is on the call, and through the course of the meeting.
Merle Harris is here. I couldn't unmute, but now I am.
Thank you, Merle.
Yes, this is Felice. Can you hear me now?
Can hear you. I'm just trying to, if you could continue to, oh, patience, please. Please, the minutes will record, will note that you are here, although I can't find you on the call-in list. Certainly you're able to mute your line, which you'll do after this. And if you need to address the chair during the course of the meeting, just unmute. Thank you for your patience.
Yes, ma'am.
We're all set, Mr. Chairman. You do have a quorum. Oh, and
All right, thank
you're
you.
all set. Thank you.
Thank you, and good morning again, everybody. Let me ask for a motion to adopt the agenda.
So moved. It's Naomi.
Second, Holly.
Thank you, Naomi. And Holly is seconded. Thank you. Is there any discussion or questions about the agenda? Okay, all in favor? Aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
All right, I think it's fair to say the agenda has been adopted. Thank you. We always have an opportunity to address the board. Madam Secretary, anyone wishing to address the board of whom you are aware?
No, Mr. Chairman, the agenda was posted with instructions to send an email within 24 hours of the meeting as of yesterday morning, and up until and including this moment, we have not received any emails, so I have nothing to share.
Okay, thank you. So now I'd like to request a motion to go into executive session for discussion concerning the appointment, employment, performance, evaluation, health, or dismissal of a public officer or employee. May I have a second?
Elise, second.
Oh, and yeah, and I'm moving it, so that's a 1 and a 2. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed or abstaining? Okay, so the motion is carried, and we enter into an executive session. I will state that no votes will be taken in the executive session. We'd like to ask some of the personnel involved to participate: President Steinmetz, President Coley, Dr. Pritchard, Andy Kripp, Councilor Weaver, and Aaron are asked to join President O'Jakian and the Regents for the executive session. For those participating in the executive session, we would like you to remain on the call. And those who are not part of that are invited to rejoin the call at 11. Which time we're expected to return to the open session. We will not return to the session prior to 11 a.m. to public session. Okay? Would you like us, I'm sorry, you want us to call in to just stay on the line for this, right, Aaron?
No, Mr. Chairman, all board members that are going to be in the executive session received the call and information for the executive session. Everyone
Yeah.
else, let me just reiterate what the chairman said, that other individuals, you're welcome to remain on the line, or you can call back at 11. In no event will the board come back and discuss items prior to 11 a.m., and they won't be later than 11:15. So for those of you that wish to join the meeting, the open session that follows executive session, call back, rejoin at 11 a.m.
Okay.
And I believe all of the regents joining in executive session, you do have the next call. If you need something, I can resend it to anyone.
Yep, I've got it. Thank you. Sorry for the confusion on my
No,
part.
that's okay.
We'll
Thank
talk
you.
shortly.
Cheryl, I'm leaving this call. Oh, you are host. Perfect.
Okay, I'm all set.
Yep. Thank
Hello? Hello?
The meeting went into executive session. They'll be back at 11.
Hey, Aaron, are you still here?
I think Aaron is muting everyone. Or actually canceling out other people other than board members.
Okay. Wonder if she's probably in the executive session. Are you coming on so that she knows which caller you are?
Merle, are you still on this line?
Yes, I am.
There's a separate call that you're supposed to be going into for executive session. It's not staying on this line. This is still open session. You need to disconnect from this.
I will try to do.
Anyone who still has their video on, can you please shut your video off? This is an audio only meeting. Please disconnect your camera. Or you can X out of video.
Good morning, and welcome to the Connecticut Business Roundtable here, where we're going to go through many things around the Reopen Connecticut Committee, as well as the May 20th open. And with me, I have a pretty sizable panel that I'm going to introduce quickly here, and we look forward to spending the next hour.
Just letting those know who just joined the Board of Regents meeting and reminding everyone else who's still on, the Regents are in executive session. They're expected to be back by about 11 a.m., but certainly not past 11:15 a.m. Thank you. Hi, this is Cheryl Connor from the Board Affairs Office. I'm just letting the people who just recently joined the Board of Regents meeting call and reminding everyone else that the board is still in executive session. They're expected to return not before 11 a.m. and not after 11:15. So you're welcome to stay on the line. Everyone has been muted. And you'll hear them when they come back on. Again, they will definitely not return to open session before 11 a.m. and they will definitely return by 11:15 a.m. Thank you. I see there's a few more people that have joined the Board of Regents open session meeting call. This is Cheryl from the Board Affairs Office, just letting you know and reminding everyone else that's still on the call. The board is in executive session. They're expected to return at 11 a.m., but no later than 11:15. Everyone is being muted on this end, just so that you're aware, and also reminding everyone that this is a audio only meeting. So if you're connected via video, if you could disconnect your video, that would be appreciated. Thank you.
Muted or not muted?
Hi, this is Cheryl Connor from Board Affairs. I've noticed that we've had a few people just recently join the call. I don't know if you're rejoining and aware of what's going on or if you're brand new. So I will repeat that the board members are in executive session right now. They are expected to return to this open session part of their meeting at 11 a.m., no later than 11:15 a.m. As people join, you will be muted. We have about 150 people on this call, so the background noise is definitely an issue, and that's why you're being automatically muted. And we should hear back from the Regents rejoining within the next 5, no more than 20 minutes. Thank you.
Hi, Erin.
Nope. This is Cheryl. Erin is still in executive session with the Regents. They should be back
Okay.
somewhere around between 11, no later than 11:15.
Okay, I'll try back later. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Well, I've read.
Hello.
Hi, this is Cheryl Connor from Board Affairs. I'm letting everyone know, certainly the new callers who are Calling in that the regents are still in executive session. They're expected to return in about 5 to 10 minutes, not before 11 a.m., which is a minute away, and I'm told not later than 11:15. Everyone is being muted. I have 200 people on the call. Background noise is an issue. And also a reminder that this is audio only. So please, if you're connected via video, disconnect the video option. Thank you.
Should I not do this now?
Oh, no, it's fine. They can't hear you.
We can hear you.
How are you gonna hear me?
Hi, this is Cheryl Connor again. The board is expected to be out of executive session in about 3 minutes and will be rejoining the call. Everyone is being muted. Please mute yourself and please disconnect video. This is audio only. Thank you. This is Cheryl Connor again from the Office of Board Affairs. I'm told that the Regents will be returning to open session in about 1 minute. We have 300 people or close to it on the call, and when they come back, that will obviously increase the number. Please remember to keep your phone on mute. Thank you.
Cheryl, it's Elise, I'm on.
Terry Orovitz from Housatonic. Joanne Ryan from the board.
Okay.
Rich Balducci.
Cheryl, the Regents are, as you can hear, the Regents are coming back now. I've advised them we have, that we're going to need a little time to make sure we've identified them all. If you could please.
This is Naomi.
Thank you, Naomi.
Hi, it's David Jimenez.
Thank you.
Rich Balducci.
Thank you.
Good morning, Erin.
Joanne Ryan.
Thank you. Who else just said something? Holly Howery?
Yep, I'm here.
Thank you. We'll go through one in a minute or so once we have everybody on the line.
Erin, it's Elise Wright.
Thank you, Elise. Noted.
Erin, it's Terry Orovitz.
Thank you. Just a heads up, I don't need to know who else is on the line other than the Regents at this point. So if you're joining the line, please, and you're not a member of the board, please mute your line. Thank you for joining the meeting.
Matt Fleury's on.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, with your consent, I'm going to do another roll call so we can see which of our board members have rejoined the meeting.
Please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Matt Fleury. Well, obviously, I know you're here. Merle Harris. Merle, are you on the line? I heard Rich Balducci. You're still on the line.
Merle Harris is here.
Thank you, Merle. And Rich Balducci, you're still on the line?
Yes. Yes.
Thank you, sir. Viva Bud, have you rejoined the call?
Here. Yeah, here.
Thank you very much. Naomi Cohen, I heard that you're on the line.
Here.
Thank you. Elise Gray Kemp, have you rejoined the call? Elise Gray Kemp. Moving on, Holly Howery, I know you're on the line. Can you please confirm? Thank you. David Jimenez, you're on the line. Please confirm. David Jimenez.
Yes, I'm on the line.
Thank you, sir. Joanne Ryan, I know you're on the line.
Yes, I am. Thank you.
Thank you. Elise Wright, we saw you. You're on the line still.
I'm still on the line.
Thank you, ma'am. Elena Ruiz. Elena, thank you. Monica Maldonado.
I'm on the line. Thank you.
Thank you. David Blitz, are you on the call?
Here.
Thank you. Kalina Sasanker, are you on the call? Kalina, are you still on the line? One more call. I'm just going to call again. Kalina, are you still on the call? Commissioner Westby?
Yes.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Lehman? Commissioner Cardona? And I'd also like to confirm that we have still President Ojakian.
I'm still here.
Thank you, sir. Dr. Alice Pritchard?
Present.
Thank you. Dr. Rob Steiner?
Here I am.
Thank you. Dr. Tom Coley? President Coley, are you on the line? VP of HR, Andrew Kripp, are you on the call? Ernestine Weaver, are you on the call?
I'm here.
Thank you. You have the board. You have the board here. The only person we're missing is Felice Gray Kemp, and she will text me if she's on the call and is having problems. And Kalina Sasanker indicated she's on the call as well. Thank you. We're all set,
Great,
Mr.
thank
Chair.
you. And welcome back, everyone, and thanks for your patience while we wrapped up the executive session and the technical transition back to open session. We, of course, took no votes during the session, but were able to review some of the personnel topics that we all will discuss now in the public setting in preparation for actions of the board on some of the most important things that a board ever does, in particular the appointment of leaders of colleges, and in this case, multiple colleges, as well as the appointment of a president for the new consolidated community college, and indeed the naming of the college. These are all actions, whether it be the appointment of a CEO for one of our many campuses, or the work leading towards the accreditation of the consolidated system of colleges that only come to the board after a tremendous amount of work at every level. In particular, we have heard about the search processes at the college level and are eager to hear the presentations of candidates to lead those colleges, and having some foresight as a function of our executive session and the involvement in those searches in collaboration with campus advisory committees about the candidates that are being recommended. I think that's just a great a deal to be grateful for, and a great deal to be excited about. And let's face it, leadership in academic settings is crucial and challenging at any moment, but never more so than it is now and will be in the years to come. So with that, as a bit of a preamble and not stealing the thunder of those who will present our candidates, I think it's time for us to move to the next stage here. So there's a process we go through from a governance perspective that will take a little time, but it's important, by which we'll ask the secretary to read the resolution for the appointment of each of the college presidents, and in succession after that ask for the regent search chairs if they see fit, and certainly for the regional presidents who are relevant to that campus to make some remarks about the candidates they're recommending, and then we would vote on each separately. So let's start with that.
Mr. Chairman,
yes.
Mr. Chairman, this is Erin, and I do apologize. I should have reminded folks when we rejoin the open session to please mute your lines. We have over 320 calls, so if the noise just gets too distracting. So another reminder, please, for everyone to mute your lines. Thank you.
Thank you. I do appreciate that, Erin. There is, for the regents, there is a sheet at the back, I think, that of your materials that has a quick bio for everyone who will be discussed here, but they'll also be presented in some detail by the search leaders and the regional presidents. Mark and Alice have led this administratively at the system office level. And I'd like to invite Mark to open with any comments you'd like us to have before we get into the individual candidates.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And just very, very briefly, I want to thank everybody that was involved in this process. It was a very thorough and participatory process. I'm always reminded when these searches conclude at how collaborative the work is between the advisory groups and the groups made up of the system and the regents, and how people come together around a recommendation. And it's been my experience that consistency has continued through this search. I just want to take a minute to thank Alice and Aaron for their incredible work navigating this during a pandemic. Doing much of this virtually, as we can tell from today's experience, is never easy. And I think they deserve a lot of credit for having this process move extremely smoothly, through the various stages of the search. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Alice to just give a little bit of a commentary on the process that was involved in these searches.
Thank you very much, President Ojekian. My name is Alice Pritchard. I'm the Chief of Staff for CSCU and was very happy to shepherd this process on behalf of President Ojekian. So in November of 2019, President Ojekian launched the search for the candidates for the positions of Campus Chief Executive Officer at 5 of our community colleges: Capital, Gateway, Housatonic, Manchester, and Middlesex. A national search was conducted per the Board of Regents hiring policy. Dr. Tom Coley chaired the searches for the Southwest region, and Dr. Rob Steinmetz chaired the searches in the Capital East region. 5 regents served on the committees as liaisons to the 5 campus advisory committees, as well as our vice presidents of finance, academic affairs, and human resources who served on the CSCU search committee. We enlisted the services of a local search firm, ACES, who provided invaluable expertise to the search and were partners in coordinating our work. There were a total of 92 applicants for the position. Candidates came from an array of backgrounds, including 24 women, 64 men, and 4 individuals who did not identify. Of those 92 applicants, 43 identified as non-white, including 21 African Americans, 12 Hispanics, and 5 Asians. Our 8 finalists were 3 females and 5 males, 3 of whom were white, 3 of whom were Black, and 2 of whom were Hispanic. The pool of candidates interviewed were all impressive with a range of experience and interest. We held first round interviews with 18 candidates across the 5 campuses, and then hosted 8 candidates for virtual campus visits. To a person, the candidates were excited about the opportunities in Connecticut and the work we are doing to strengthen our colleges. I just want to mention that somebody is typing and we can hear that on the audio. Not sure who that is. Still going strong. A campus advisory committee to the search committee was established at each of the colleges. Advisory committee members read each resume, participated in the screening and selection process for semifinalists, as well as in interviews, and provided their respective recommendations for semifinalists. Even more impressive, when the pandemic arrived in Connecticut, they each moved from an in-person campus visit to a virtual finalist interview, which provided opportunities for faculty, staff, students, foundation, and other community members to participate and provide feedback on the candidates. Lastly, they provided that feedback to the search committee to contribute to their deliberations about the finalist. Despite a global pandemic, the search committee, with the invaluable assistance of those advisory committees, was able to keep the search timeline established goal of hiring for the CEOs in May of 2020, which brings us to today. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Alice. Thank you for your efforts here and to everyone involved on all of the committees. So let's move to the first search and the first recommendation. That will be for Capital Community College CEO. And as advertised, we'll ask Aaron to start us off by reading the resolution into the record, and therein you will hear the recommendation. After that, I'll ask President Steinmetz to stand by to offer some elaboration on the recommendation, and we'll take it from there. Aaron?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The resolution reads as follows. Whereas the members of the CSCU Search Committee, with the invaluable assistance of members of the Campus Advisory Committee, conducted a national search for a campus chief executive officer for Capital Community College. And whereas, having completed this search through the careful evaluation of credentials and interviews with outstanding finalist candidates, the CSCU Search Committee recommends that Dr. G. Duncan Harris be appointed to the position of Campus Chief Executive Officer for Capital Community College. And whereas the Chairman of the Board of Regents for Higher Education and the President of the Connecticut State Colleges and Universities concur in this recommendation. Therefore, be it resolved that effective June 5th, 2020, under the terms and conditions of the CSCU HR policies for management and confidential professional personnel, as such policies may be revised from time to time, the Connecticut Board of Regents for Higher Education affirms that Dr. G. Duncan Harris is hereby appointed Capital Community College Campus Chief Executive Officer at the annual rate of $155,250.
Thank you, Aaron. For purposes of discussion and any further presentation, may I have a motion to move the proposed resolution?
So moved. This is Lee.
Naomi, so moved.
Morel?
All right, I think Secretary has a 1 and a 2, Harris and Cohen.
Yes, sir.
And President Steinmetz, would you like to offer any remarks now?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And as the chair for 3 of these searches, first, I want to again express gratitude, as we've already heard from others, for those who served on the search committee and on the campus advisory committees. The collaborative work we were able to see throughout the process was encouraging and impressive, and I think has led us to making these strong recommendations for CEOs at each of the campuses. On behalf of the search committee, I am happy to recommend Dr. G. Duncan Harris for campus CEO of Capital Community College in Hartford, where he currently serves as the interim CEO. He has 24 years of community college experience within the CSCU system, with 14 of those years at the management level. In his short time as interim CEO, Dr. Harris has been able to create new relationships in the community and has worked to bring the college community together in new and exciting ways. He has quickly established himself as a strong and collaborative leader. I want to thank the Campus Advisory Committee co-chairs, Ryan Pearson, Assistant to the Academic Dean at Capital, and Michael Prowl, Department Chair of Science and Mathematics and Associate Professor of Mathematics at Capital, for their diligent service throughout the process. Thank you also to Regent Cohen for her excellent service and leadership on the search committee. Again, the committee strongly recommends Dr. Harris's appointment to this position. Thank you.
Thank you, President Steinmetz. Regent Cohen, would you like to add anything?
I'd like to add, I'm very happy. The process worked much as the board had envisioned it would work when we established the CEO search process back a number of years ago. We had 3 outstanding finalists, but it was very clear to all, I believe the advisory committee as well as the search committee, that Dr. Harris's work in the system for almost a quarter of a century, as well as his work now at Capitol as the interim CEO, showed that he not only understands the role in the transition, but also how that position will function once we become a single college, and everybody was strongly in favor of his selection. I'm very grateful for having the opportunity to have participated in it. Thank you.
Thank you for your leadership of the process. As many of you know, I work downtown and run in the circles where I occasionally Dr. Harris and others who are connected and certainly the atmosphere on campus when we're able to have on campus. And the presence of Capitol under his leadership have really been terrific to see. So I'm personally excited about this recommendation as well. Any questions or comments before we call a vote on the appointment? All right. So I'll call it. All in favor of the resolution? Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
For the record, any opposed or abstaining? So the resolution is adopted. Congratulations, Dr. Harris, and thank you for your work to date and for taking on this commitment to carry Capitol Community College forward. You're a great partner to this board and a great asset to Capitol and to our system and our community, and we look forward to continuing to work together with you. We'll now move across the river to Manchester to discuss the appointment of CEO for Manchester Community College. Before we get into discussion and presentation, we will ask the secretary to read the proposed resolution into the record, which will contain the specific recommendation at hand. Erin?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The resolution reads as follows. Whereas the members of the CSCU Search Committee, with the invaluable assistance of the members of the Campus Advisory Committee, conducted a national search for a campus chief executive officer for Manchester Community College. And whereas, having completed this search through the careful evaluation of credentials and interviews with outstanding finalist candidates, the CSCU Search Committee recommends that Dr. Nicole Esposito be appointed to the position of Campus Chief Executive Officer for Manchester Community College. And whereas the Chairman of the Board of Regents for Higher Education and the President of the Connecticut State, and the President of the Connecticut State Colleges and Universities concur in this recommendation. Therefore, be it resolved that effective July 6, 2020, under the terms and conditions of the CSCU Human Resources Policies for Management and Confidential Professional Personnel, as such policies may be revised from time to time, the Connecticut Board of Regents for Higher Education affirms that Dr. Nicole Esposito is hereby appointed Manchester Community College Campus Chief Executive Officer at the annual rate of $155,250.
Thank you, Erin. So for purposes of presentation and discussion, may I ask for a motion perhaps from the Regent Search Chair and a second?
So moved. This is Holly.
Second, this is Elise.
Thank you, Holly and Elise. Wonderful. President Steinmetz, back to you.
Thank you again, Mr. Chair. On behalf of the Search Committee, I'm happy to recommend Dr. Nicole Esposito as the next campus CEO of Manchester Community College in Manchester. She is currently the Assistant Dean of Liberal Arts and Professional Studies at Springfield Technical Community College in Springfield, Massachusetts. Dr. Esposito would be returning to Manchester, having served as a program coordinator and associate professor in the Disability Specialist and Speech Pathology degree programs. She has a track record of providing collaborative leadership while pushing forward with complex change management. Her work with faculty and areas like the statewide articulation transfer process aligns well with the needs of the campus and the system at this time. I want to thank the Campus Advisory Committee chairs, Mirdad Faizi, Professor of Manufacturing at Manchester, and Peter Gross, Vice President of the Manchester Community College Board Foundation, for their dedicated service throughout the process. Thank you also to Regent Howery for her exemplary service and leadership on the search committee throughout the process. Again, the committee strongly recommends Dr. Esposito for appointment to this position. Thank you.
Thank you. Regent Howery, would you like to add anything?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, so first off, we have to say thank you to the Manchester team, the Campus Advisory Committee, who provided excellent leadership and attention to detail in what was a challenging process through a lot of different technology processes. We had amazing candidates. We had great feedback from everyone involved, and I have no doubt that for all the reasons mentioned, Dr. Esposito will hit the ground with a very collaborative process and help successfully navigate this change process. So couldn't be more thrilled to recommend Dr. Esposito, and I look forward to her joining the Manchester team.
Thank you. Thank you to you, Holly, and to the committee. It sounds like a great recommendation. So are there any further comments or questions concerning this resolution? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Aye.
Any opposed or abstaining? Hearing none, the resolution is adopted. Congratulations, Dr. Esposito. We look forward very much to working with you and are grateful to you for taking on this tremendous opportunity and challenge. We'll now move to the appointment of CEO for Middlesex Community College. And to move that towards presentation, I'll again turn to Aaron to read the resolution, including the specific recommendation.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The resolution for Middlesex Community College reads as follows. Whereas the members of the CSCU Search Committee, with the invaluable assistance of members of the Campus Advisory Committee, conducted a national search for a campus chief executive officer for Middlesex Community College. Whereas, having completed this search through the careful evaluation of credentials and interviews with outstanding finalist candidates, the CSCU Search Committee recommends that Dr. Stephen Minkler be appointed to the position of Campus Chief Executive Officer for Middlesex Community College. And whereas the Chairman of the Board of Regents for Higher Education and the President of the Connecticut State Colleges and Universities concur in this recommendation, therefore be it resolved that effective June 5th, 2020, under the terms and conditions of the CSCU Human Resources Policies for Management and Confidential Professional Personnel, as such policies may be revised from time to time, the Connecticut Board of Regents for Higher Education affirms that Dr. Stephen Minkler is hereby appointed Middlesex Community College Campus Chief Executive Officer at the annual rate of $155,250.
Thank you. I believe Regent Balducci is the Regent Search Chair on this one. Would you like to add some remarks? I bet he does, but has to find the mute button.
Am I on now?
You are. We hear you. Thank you. Take it away.
Thank you. I'm delighted having searched. I've been part of that search committee. First of all, I'd like to thank everyone for the opportunity to serve with an outstanding advisory committee. With delight working with those folks. We had outstanding candidates, as you know, and we have many of them who we felt were will make excellent leaders. We have before us Stephen Minkler, who will be an outstanding leader for us. He has proven himself in the past as being one who is capable of making difficult decisions, and he knows the direction in which our community colleges are headed. I would just simply like to add that I wish him well, and I think we are going to be in good stead when it comes to a CEO for Middlesex Community College. Thank you.
Thank you, Regent Balducci. Knowing Dr. Minkler as I do and having seen his leadership in assuming the interim role, Middlesex, that wonderful campus, I'm equally enthusiastic about your recommendation and his willingness to continue with us in that role. Are there further comments or remarks? Okay. I'll call the vote then.
Mr.
All
Chairman?
in favor of the resolution? Yes, please.
Mr. Chairman, we need to call for a motion. We need to call to move the resolution and get a second
So,
to the vote.
so moved. Balducci.
Second, Holly Howard.
I'm sorry if I failed to do that in opening the remarks.
Yeah,
so
Mr. Chair, this is the Dr. Steinmetz. Should I make my comments?
Yes, please. I'm sorry. I must have gotten out of order here a little bit. So please go ahead.
Oh, no problem. So the search committee is, of course, happy to recommend Dr. Minkler as the finalist for the CEO at Middlesex and Middletown. He currently serves as the interim CEO there and has 30 years of leadership experience and teaching experience within the community college system in Connecticut, where he's worked at 3 of our institutions. During his time as interim CEO, he certainly has proven himself as an effective leader, communicating well to engage the entire campus community in decision-making and ultimately making decisions, sometimes difficult, to ensure that students are at the center of the work. For example, his willingness to work as what became known as the Presidine when he was serving as both the CEO and Dean of Academic Affairs for quite some time was a great example of his ability to multitask and keep support for the campus community as a top priority, even when he was managing a large amount of work. I want to thank the committee, Campus Advisory Committee co-chairs, Sarah Hansen, the Director of Enrollment Management at Middlesex, and Kim Hogan, the Dean of Administration at Middlesex, for their dynamic service throughout the process. And as we just heard, thank you also to Regent Balducci for his service and leadership on the search committee. Again, we do also strongly recommend Dr. Minkler for appointment to this position. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, President Steinmetz. I'm sorry I left you out for your third at bat today. So thanks for handling it so well and for your recommendation. So we have a recommendation, we have a motion, and we have a second. And I believe I'll, just for the good order, make sure I haven't missed anything else. Are there any other comments or particulars here? Okay. All in favor of the resolution? Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Aye.
Are any opposed or abstaining? All right, so the resolution is adopted. Congratulations, Dr. Minkler, and to all those involved in this search. All right, we're going to move south now and discuss the appointment of CEO for Gateway Community College, which the chair will attempt to get in the appropriate sequence of events this time. So we'll start with a reading of the resolution, including the specific recommendation by the secretary. Aaron?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The resolution for the CEO for Gateway Community College reads as follows. Whereas the members of the CSCU Search Committee, with the invaluable assistance of members of the Campus Advisory Committee, conducted a national search for a campus chief executive officer for Gateway Community College. Whereas having completed this search through the careful evaluation of credentials and interviews with outstanding finalist candidates, the CSCU Search Committee recommends that Dr. William Terry Brown be appointed to the position of Campus Chief Executive Officer for Gateway Community College. And whereas the Chairman of the Board of Regents for Higher Education and the President of the Connecticut State Colleges and Universities concur in this recommendation, therefore be it resolved that effective July 6, 2020, under the terms and conditions of the CSCU Human Resources Policies for Management and Confidential Professional Personnel, as such policies may be revised from time to time, the Connecticut Board of Regents for Higher Education affirms that Dr. William Terry Brown is hereby appointed Gateway Community College Campus Chief Executive Officer at the annual rate of $155,250.
Thank you, Aaron. Okay, for purposes of discussion and presentation, I'm going to call for a motion to move the proposed resolution. I have a motion, please.
This is Elise, so moved.
Naomi,
Elise.
second.
And a second. Thank you, Elise and Naomi. Okay, discussion. President Coley, let's start with you. President Coley, you may be speaking, but perhaps your mute button is still on. So check it, and we hope to hear from you. We'd love to hear about your recommendation.
Cheryl, excuse me, Mr. Chairman, I recommend that Cheryl as host, if you can unmute all for one moment, and then when actually.
We can see, Aaron, we can see him.
Yes, I can see you, but.
So that would probably be.
Can you unmute President Coley? He's down towards the bottom, and it's showing up as his name. President Coley, are you on the line? President Coley?
It won't let me unmute him.
It's showing that he's unmuted. I think a quick fix is for Cheryl to.
Aaron, I'd be happy to read for him. We could figure out. I just think unmuting may create chaos.
Understand.
Okay.
So you're going to proceed.
We might ask the Regent Chair, Search Chair, to comment while you try to work out the technical piece, so President Coley could then remark. Would that make sense?
If we're on Gateway,
That would be.
we're
That
on
would be
time.
Felice.
Yeah.
Okay. Felice, are you
Okay, can
able
you
to
hear
hear
me
us?
now?
There he is.
Oh, okay, we have President Coley. Felice, stand by.
Yeah,
Please proceed,
I went to my
President
phone. All right, sorry about that. Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. As I was saying, if you couldn't hear me, is that, on behalf of the campus, we're very pleased that we have the opportunity for a national search that led to such highly qualified candidates. And I'm very pleased with the engagement at the campus level for the searches that we had, and in a very unusual and unprecedented time. So in terms of Gateway, I recommend that Dr. Terry Brown become campus CEO for Gateway Community College in New Haven. Dr. Brown is currently serving as Special Assistant to the President for Strategic Initiatives at Nashville State Community College. And we're pleased that he will return to the CSCU system where he has been previously served at Norwalk, Naugatuck Valley, and Housatonic Community College. Dr. Brown brings an impressive record of working with faculty, staff, and students collaboratively to promote the teaching experience and to demonstrate a commitment to student services.
His record includes instituting and advancing numerous high-impact initiatives and practices as it relates to achieving student success, engagement, advising, and pedagogical innovation. Just as important is his experience with many of the Student First initiatives that we're engaged with in terms of achieving a dream, guided pathways, general education, and strategic enrollment management. He also has a deep experience in engaging diverse stakeholders and building industry and community partnerships, which will be welcome again at not only on campus but off campus with our community groups. So with that, I would also like to thank the Campus Advisory Committee, who did an outstanding job, particularly when we had our own campus interviews. It was very well organized. The advisory committee is chaired by Professor of Mathematics Rachel Shedelham and the foundation member Mimi Limes. Also, I'd like to extend my thanks to Regent Felice Gray Kemp for her great contributions to the search process. With that, I recommend Dr. Terry Brown for campus CEO at Gateway Community College.
Thanks, President Coley. Regent Gray Kemp, if you are on, we invite you to offer any additional remarks about this search.
Thank you very much. I'm more eloquent. Rhythm and the experience of doing the candidates. There were there are a lot of people come into making the right selection and doing the work that we're charged to do. And so me personally, it's more than a task, an appointment, it's a purpose. And I felt that all of the support that we gave one another and the quality of the candidates reflected can only improve upon the excellent work that everyone's doing across stakeholder groups for the Student First initiatives. And I just can't be more pleased and privileged to be a part of it, nor can my mom, who sends her thanks secondarily.
Thank you, Regent Gray Kemp, and thanks again for your efforts and good work on this search. So we have a motion that has been moved and seconded. We have recommendations in favor of the resolution from the Regional President Coley and from the Regent Search Committee Chair. And if there are not further questions or remarks, I will call the vote on this appointment. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstaining? Hearing none, the resolution is adopted. Congratulations. Thank you, Dr. Brown. We look forward very much to working with you and are really excited about your future leadership of this extraordinarily important and valuable institution among our many extraordinary and valuable campuses here in Connecticut. So welcome to New Haven. All right. Let's see. President Coley, stay on deck. We're going to talk about the CEO for Housatonic Community College next, starting with the reading into the record of the resolution and recommendation by the Secretary.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Cheryl is going to try and identify that sound and mute that line. If it is President Coley, we will unmute you as soon as we're through and the chair calls on you again.
No, I'm on mute on the phone. It's not me.
Thank you, sir. The resolution for the CEO for Housatonic Community College reads as follows. Whereas the members of the CSCU Search Committee, with the invaluable assistance of members of the Campus Advisory Committee, conducted a national search for a Campus Chief Executive Officer for Housatonic Community College. And whereas, having completed this search through the careful evaluation of credentials and interviews with outstanding finalist candidates, the CSCU Search Committee recommends that Dr. Dwayne Smith be appointed to the position of Campus Chief Executive Officer for Housatonic Community College. And whereas the Chairman of the Board of Regents for Higher Education and the President of the Connecticut State Colleges and Universities concur in this recommendation, therefore be it resolved that effective July 6, 2020, under the terms and conditions of the CSCU Human Resources Policies for Management and Confidential Professional Personnel, as such policies may be revised from time to time, the Connecticut Board of Regents for Higher Education affirms that Dr. Dwayne Smith is hereby appointed Gateway Community College Campus Chief Executive Officer at the annual rate of $155,250. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Okay, so the resolution's been read into the record. We'll, for purposes of discussion, call for a motion and a second.
I
The
so
search
move,
committee
Aviva.
chair, move it. Thank you so much, Aviva. And could we have a second, please? Great. All right. So to launch into the discussion, we'll return to President Coley for his remarks.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Dr. Dwayne Smith I want to recommend that Dr. Dwayne Smith become campus CEO of Housatonic Community College in Bridgeport. He currently serves as interim president at Harris-Stowe State University in St. Louis. Dr. Smith has more than 40 years experience in higher education and leadership and teaching. He has an extensive resume of accomplishments that to go through, but I want to emphasize several key points. One is his outstanding record of and commitment to increasing success and access to underrepresented and under-resourced students. He has been personally involved as a mentor and seeking opportunities for students to advance and to achieve degrees and address their inclusion of their particular learning styles. He has been successful in raising student retention and persistence of first-year students, particularly in completing 15 credits per term and raising the number of African-American students in mathematics to receive degrees and in education to be ranked in the top 50 among colleges across the country. The other area that I would emphasize is his extensive background in community relations and resource development, where he has achieved external funding for various institutional initiatives. He's particularly focused on with the National Science Foundation on STEM-related programs, where he has achieved much success in that area. I want to thank the Housatonic Campus Advisory Committee for their great work. It was co-chaired by Acting Associate Dean of Campus Operations, Teresa Orvet, and SGA President Jalen Daniels. And I want to thank also just the community in general, the campus community in general, for their great engagement in this process that led to us being able to recommend this outstanding candidate. I also want to thank Regent Avila Budd for her active engagement in the process and her thoughts and ideas, but more clearly how she demonstrates her investment in the success of the campus for students, the faculty and staff, and wanting to have a leader to match that the outstanding record that the college has enjoyed and that be able to move forward in the future. So with that, I recommend Dr. Dwayne Smith as campus CEO for Housatonic Community College.
Thank you very much, President Coley. Regent Budd, would you want to offer some additional remarks from your perspective?
Yes, I would like to support everything Dr. Coley said. In particular, I thought that it was a real pleasure for my part. I enjoyed very much working with the advisory committee from the campus. We had 3 wonderful candidates. I think we've selected the candidate that will do a great job. And the advisory committee also liked that candidate from what I could see as their recommendation. And I think they'll enjoy working with him. We look forward to a great success and continued success of Housatonic.
Regent Budd, thank you so much for your commitment and effort in the process, and thanks for your recommendation today. Hearing particularly Dr. Coley's enumeration of the highlights of this candidate, I'm just observing, first of all, that this is a campus that has enjoyed really superb leadership under Dr. Brody, who certainly we miss very much. But it is also an opportunity for someone to build on what he has started. And it sounds like Dr. Smith is just the person for that, particularly with regard to the imperative concerning underrepresented and under-opportunities students in the community. And it's not hard to see, even as this terrible COVID situation plays out, that not only the health, but also the economic disparities that bedevil our diverse communities are just growing more and more compounded. And leaders who put that in the center of their work in the community college system are just extremely important and valuable. So thank you for prioritizing that, because clearly that's something the Board of Regents is prioritizing in all of our work, including our organizational focus. Is there any other further comment or discussion concerning this candidate? Or the resolution? All right, so let's vote on Dr. Smith. All in favor? Aye?
Aye.
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 Aye. Aye. Aye.
Are any opposed or abstaining? This resolution is unanimously adopted. Congratulations, Dr. Smith. We look forward very much to working with you. And our thanks again to all of our new campus CEOs on your appointments today. We look forward to continuing to work with you or beginning to work with you, as the case may be. And our thanks again to all of those involved at every level in these fine selections and recommendations. So we'll move to item 7 on our open session agenda today. And this comes from the Executive Committee and regards the Students First organizational initiative, and in particular, necessary steps towards the proposed accreditation by NETCHI, which are steps we understand and are following pursuant to NETCHI's processes and advice in terms of the steps necessary to move forward. So while on some level, a naming, I think, in this brand-oriented world of ours would seem to be either trivial or more important, perhaps, than it is, it's important, I think, to recognize that what is going to be presented here concerns a necessary step in creating an identity for administrative and governance and accreditation purposes as a step in the process. It is not a sign-changing or business card-changing proposition as of today. Certainly, that would be implied in the years of progressing through this transition ahead. So for purposes of discussion, I would like to ask for a motion to move the resolution on page 1 of the agenda packet concerning the naming of a single accredited college as Connecticut State Community College. May I have a motion and a
Naomi,
second?
so moved.
Second, Elise.
Okay, we have a first and a second. Thank you. And now I'll turn it over to President Ojakian to share his recommendation and specific, and I know that he will open the floor for any comments or questions that the Regents may have.
Thank you.
President Ojakian, over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Last week, the executive committee moved forward an important matter, and that is the naming of the new community college. As you indicated, this is one of the steps we need to take as part of our accreditation process. And we are very much looking forward to presenting this and other benchmarks to NECHI when we go before them in June. So after careful review of our options and in consultation with our partners at O'Donnell Company, I recommended and the committee moved forward Connecticut State Community College for the full board's consideration as the name of the future college. We considered other options in making this recommendation, and each of those options had pros and cons, but I'm recommending Connecticut State Community College because at a time when real change is needed to the way that our colleges operate, particularly on the student success and equity front, this option marks a departure from the status quo. It signifies a new identity that builds on the past, but speaks to the future. It also represents the stature of the future college, which will be one of the largest in the country with over 80,000 students and prestigious degrees in hundreds of academic programs. And it continues to show the strong community connection that make our institutions such great places to pursue an education. I want to note that the naming of the college is just one step in the process of branding the new institution. More important than the formal name is the colloquial name or abbreviation that will be commonly used to identify the college, the determination of what each individual campus will be called, and the development of brand materials. It is my intention for those processes to include significant feedback from community college students, faculty, staff, and to take place over the next 2 years as we prepare for the opening of the college for the 23-24 school year. So today, Mr. Chairman, I am asking the board to adopt the executive committee's recommendation of naming the singly accredited college Connecticut State Community College. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, President Ojakian. And I think it's worth noting that this is, certainly a marquee moment in a succession of perhaps less obvious but equally important steps towards achieving the direction that the board established some years ago now to create a reorganized and combined community college system that would retain the community values that are so important to the campuses within that system. So thank you to you and the team for your efforts in this regard and for attending to the balance of the stature of this really incredible system and also to the sustaining community relevance and connectedness of its campuses. We have moved and seconded the resolution, and it's time, I think, for anyone with comments among the Regents to offer them. So we'll open the floor.
Well, Mr. Chairman, this is David Jimenez. you sort of took the words right out of my mouth there. You so eloquently said what I was thinking. This is a milestone day, and I'm very proud that we are at this point in time, and I'm very proud and thankful for the work that President Ojekian and his staff and the many working groups involved with the Student First Initiative have completed, and in terms of not only getting things done, but the collaboration has been significant, and this is indeed an important moment. I think it's important to note that this is a journey we all started a number of years ago. This is, in my view, central to the role of the Board of Regents and its oversight of the state university system. And I believe that many good things lie ahead for this state university system as it goes forward with the Student First Initiative. So I just want to thank you, President Ojekian, for bringing us to this moment in time, and wish the team comprised of the many individuals involved in the working groups that will, if they've not participated, will have opportunities to participate in the future. You know, will see us through to completion and through full accreditation, I'm sure. So thank you.
Thank you.
This is Elise. I just, I echo what has already been said, but I also want to say that in all the years that I worked in organizations where I saw a lot of reorganizations, it is not an easy task to introduce and then administer significant change. It takes patience, it takes talent, and it takes a remarkable team. And I think your team, including those throughout the campuses, in the central office, I think you've done a remarkable job of sort of listening to one another and hashing out what has been some very issues. I also think that, I didn't mention this before, the caliber of talent that you're bringing into the organization and the talent among the folks who are, spread throughout the system has been so impressive. And I just applaud everybody who worked on this, who've been working on this. This has been a long journey. I know it's not over. There's more to come. But I think everyone who has been involved in this should be very proud. And I thank you for all of your contributions.
Is that on my house?
Thank you, Regent Wright. Are there others who would wish to comment or ask questions?
Hi, Chairman Fleury. This is Monica Maldonado, Chair of the Student Advisory Committee. And on behalf of the students, on behalf of the students of our institutions, I would just like to say that, the Student Advisory Committee promised to provide neutral information and in regards to the consolidation of our 12 community colleges. And in doing so, we led an effort to unify our community college student leaders. It was a great honor to have access to President Ojekian and the committees that we were able to be a part of, as well as all of the working groups that we were invited to join. And we really did see a combined effort, and it was great to see so many professors and teachers and faculty and staff working together to unify our colleges and to observe the focus on student success. So with that, I just want to say thank you to everyone who was involved with this, with all the committees to move forward this Students First initiative. And yeah, that's it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. Thank you, President Ojakian, for the thorough presentation and for the good work behind this and for admonishing us that there's a lot to do still. But as has been remarked, this is an important step forward. And it's left to us now to vote on it. So we have the recommendation and the resolution. It's been moved and seconded. And I'll call the vote. All in favor? Aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
Are any opposed or abstaining? Okay, so the resolution is adopted unanimously. Thank you all, and congratulations on an important step forward to the team. Every great institution, as we have discussed at some length in today's drumbeat of actions, needs great leadership. And it falls to the board not only to determine the strategic direction of the institution, but to determine its leadership. So that is a natural next step for us that we're going to take up right now. Concerning item 8, the appointment of an interim president of the single accredited college, Connecticut State Community College. So this is one of the items that the board discussed but did not vote on in the executive session. So I will now ask the secretary to read the proposed resolution, which we then would, if the board sees fit, move and second, discuss, and then vote on as appropriate. Erin?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The resolution for the appointment of an interim president of the single accredited college reads as follows. Resolved that Dr. David Levinson is named interim president of the Connecticut State Community College, effective May 15th, 2020 through May 14th, 2022. And resolved that during Dr. Levinson's service as interim president, under the terms and conditions of the CSCU Human Resources Policies for Management and Confidential Professional Personnel, as such policies may be revised from time to time, compensation will be at the rate of $288,354 annually, and further be it resolved that CSCU President Mark E. Ojakian is authorized to enter into an employment agreement with Dr. Levinson on behalf of the Board of Regents for Higher Education in conformity with the above referenced terms and policies. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
And thank you, Erin. So for purposes of discussion and any additional presentation, may I ask for a motion?
Naomi, so moved.
Second, Holly.
Thank you, Naomi and Holly, for a motion and a second. President Ojakian, why don't we turn to you to open the commentary section here with your recommendation and remarks.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I am very happy this afternoon to recommend Dr. David Levinson, the former president at Norwalk Community College and CSCU Vice President for Community Colleges, to serve as interim president of the Connecticut State Community College. I believe all of you have worked with David over your tenure as board members, and so I'm not going to belabor his extensive credentials. Just know that beyond his 15 years at Norwalk, David's had a stellar educational career as a professor of sociology, an administrator, president of Norwalk Community College, as well as a member of the New England Commission for Higher Education, which is the body that will accredit the new institution. Over the past year, David has served as a presidential fellow for the system, working closely with me and the team to focus on the steps we need to get accreditation as a single college. And because of David's work, both initially as a member of the Students First implementation team, but also as a presidential fellow, I believe we're in a much better position than ever, not only to navigate through the accreditation process, but also to meet our student success and equity goals. I will point out, for purposes of discussion, this is an interim appointment. I think as the resolution read, it is for a 2-year period of time. And we do intend to begin a search next year at some point in accordance with the board's HR policy on presidential searches for a permanent president to lead Connecticut State Community College. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, President Ojakian. Let me ask others whether they'd like to comment or ask questions.
This is David Blitz, Chair of the Faculty Advisory Committee. My question is not with respect to the individual, but rather with respect to the function. And can we have a clarification either now or sometime in the immediate future? Because I know this is a question which is going to be of interest to the faculty, particularly the faculty at the Faculty Advisory Committee, on one, the specific responsibilities and tasks of the interim president, 2, the expected support staff, and 3, the estimated cost of the office.
Dr. Blitz, we can get you more specifics on the cost of the office. As we move towards our accreditation, it is critically important that we actually have an institution that can be accredited. As you well know, NECHI will not accredit a strategic plan, will not accredit organizational charts, but there has to be a living and breathing organization that they will then accredit. So this is one of the things we are doing today to be in compliance with the standards as we move forward over the next couple of years. So President Levinson will work with the other senior leaders of the new college to move the new college towards accreditation. He will work closely with members of the new team that will be part of the college. I will talk about that in a little bit. He will be working closely, with me. But it's important to note that the current organizational structure that has the existing campus leaders reporting through the regional presidents directly to me will continue until the new institution has been formally accredited and opens. So I will get you the specific information on the budgetary costs. Many of those costs are just transferred from one institution to the new Connecticut State Community College, but I'm happy to get that to you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Matt? It's
Yeah.
Naomi. If I could just offer a personal note. When I joined the then Community College Board of Trustees in 2011, David Levinson was the first president who reached out to me. I'm sure trying to figure out who I was, but also to share his thoughts on community colleges in general and Norwalk in particular. And I think what was very clear from that conversation as I think back on it was his commitments to affordability, accessibility, and equity, both at his school and at all our community colleges. He was not shy in pointing out all the fabulous things that Norwalk was doing, but he also wanted me to understand how different each of the institutions is, the populations they serve and the needs they have. And I remember that to this day. And I also remember his commitment to the fact that community college is also not only about the students, but really about the communities in which they live. And so I think that this appointment will just further the goal that we as a board have had since the day we approved the idea that we needed one accredited institution, but with the nuances of maintaining the individual identity. So I'm very happy to support this motion and welcome David officially to the CSCU family.
Thank you, Regent Cohen. So well said. Other questions or comments?
This is David Jimenez. I just want to say that we are fortunate to have David Levinson accept his appointment, and we absolutely must take this next step as we look to move forward, not only with accreditation, but with all the things, all the benefits and all the rationale that supports our Student First initiative. So thank you to David Levinson for accepting the appointment and for accepting the mission that comes with it.
Thank you, Regent Jimenez. Any other further comments or questions? Thank you. I don't want to take too much time with additional comments that only double down on what's been said, but I guess in the view of the importance of this role, would just want to echo what's been said about Dr. Levinson, who I've had the opportunity to get to know over the years, including when we have testified before NETCHI, our accreditors. He just always impressed me as a man who has that really special combination of intellect, bearing and measure, reputation and regard, and also a sense of caring. We all know Dr. Levinson is not a man to run around with his voice raised, trying to draw attention to himself. But there's a heart there that I think has been remarked upon, which is really an important part of the character he brings to this. So it's always been a great comfort to me when we've talked about the most challenging parts of our circumstances and our plan to turn to Dr. Levinson and look to his voice and experience and guidance. And it's, I think, exceptionally important and valuable that we'll be able to do that going forward in this new role at this time. With that, Madam Secretary, if you'll just assure me that I indeed called for a motion and a second, which I think I did.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, you did call for a motion and a second. We have the motion made by Naomi Cohen, the second, Holly Howery.
Thank you. And with that, and the presentation of the recommendation, the resolution, and the commentary, we'll call the vote. And then, yeah, well, let's take it one step at a time here. So we'll call this vote. All in favor of the resolution? Aye.
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 Any opposed or abstaining? Yeah, I think we have a unanimous vote in support of this resolution and this appointment. Dr. Levinson, congratulations and thank you for your continued service, and for the next few years of service you'll be bringing to the system in this important capacity. If you are on the line, which I believe you are, we'd welcome a few remarks.
Oh, yes, I am. Well, thank you so much, Chairman Fleury, and all those really wonderful comments that Regent Cohn and Jimenez provided. I'm very touched and very flattered. I've had the opportunity to be in Connecticut now for 16 years, and clearly this appointment as the first president of Connecticut State Community College is a capstone of my career. So I'm very humbled and thank you tremendously. There's so much about this that excites me, and it all really stems from the guiding principles and priorities that the board has identified, focusing on issues such as equity and student success, which are the values that drive me and the work that I do. And that's so beautifully embodied in this new institution. So I want to thank you for that. If there was ever a time that we need a Connecticut State Community College, it's now. Given what is going on with the COVID-19 pandemic and the impact that is having, especially Chairman Fleury, as you had said, on our low-income populations and people of color, we need an institution that can marshal our scarce resources. That very important focuses on proven research-based strategies for student success. So I am just delighted and thrilled about this opportunity. I look forward to working with all of my colleagues, and a special kudos to my colleagues who were appointed today, the 5 new CEOs. And I look forward on bringing our institution to accreditation. So again, thank you so much for this incredible opportunity.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Levinson. We look forward to continuing our work together in the eventful times ahead. Okay, so we now move to what I guess would be the agenda for the usual Board of Regents meeting. Hopefully your phone batteries are hanging in there. And thank you for your abundant time today. Just going through my notes to make sure I don't miss anything here. For those of you who are on still, just a reminder to mute, please, when you're not speaking. That helps a little bit, including the regents. And now we'll move to the next item. And these are the president's customary remarks about uncustomary things. President Ojakian, over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, this is very uncustomary to say the least. I want to start by first thanking our 2 incredible student regents. Believe this will be their last meeting with us. Monica, you've shown incredible leadership, not only in leading the Student Advisory Committee, but on your campus and in your community. You push us to do better. You advise us on what students need to become successful. You invite us to events where you showcase the great things that are being done on your campus, and one in particular that I attended, which encouraged students to vote. I know that your future is incredibly bright, and I expect to hear great things from you, read great things about you, and perhaps one day, even on CNN, I'll see you as one of the leaders in this country. So I want to thank you, and I want to congratulate you on completing your tenure at Gateway. Thank you very much for your leadership. And to Elena. Elena, we've worked together now for close to 4 years, I believe. And you've shown the ability to come to us from another state, to adapt very quickly to Connecticut, and to really lead your institution and your fellow advisory committee members through some very difficult times. And I know you are graduating as well. In both cases, I would have attended your commencement ceremonies. And so I feel sort of a little bit shortchanged, as do you. I want to also let folks know that I did also submit a video to be part of any virtual commencements that our institutions may provide to students. It was very interesting exercise doing it from my house. I had to actually, my husband's producer and director, but I think we got it done. So the other thing I want to say about Elena and her cohort of students, it was 4 years ago, and I'm going to talk about this because it shows how special and what a national model Connecticut and CSCU is in terms of opportunities for all to get an education. And Elena knows this very, very well. 4 years ago, I took a phone call from a gentleman named Donald Graham. Donald Graham runs a foundation called the Dream.us Foundation, which has been established primarily to provide opportunities for our DACA students to attain an education throughout this country. He asked if we would be willing in Connecticut to be the first state to offer educational opportunities to our dreamers, our DACA students from out of state. Many of you know that our students in some of our neighboring states, especially states to the south, do not allow those students to attend their institution, their public institutions for in-state tuition, and in some states don't even allow them to attend as well. And would we in Connecticut be interested in hosting students at one of our institutions for their educational advancement? And immediately, working under Governor Malloy, this was really a no-brainer. We said yes. 4 years later, 46 out of 47 students who came to us from out of state will have graduated. As you know, this percentage is nearly impossible anywhere else. And among them are several summa cum laudes and the class president. So, Elena, as you complete your education, I want you to know it's been a pleasure to have you in Connecticut, to be part of a leadership team in Connecticut. And I only want to wish you and your colleagues well in the future. So congratulations on your incredible accomplishment, Elena. I also want to just take a moment to congratulate all of the folks that are completing their education this year. This is not the way I think people envisioned completing their college experience under stay-at-home orders and social distancing requirements. But know that we are very, very proud of your accomplishments and wish you the best in the future. As many of the actions have indicated so far, today marks a very important day in our Students First progress. 3 years ago, the board asked me to plan for and implement strategies to improve student success, address the equity gap experienced by our students, and improve the long-term financial sustainability of our community colleges. My commitment and the board's commitment to Students First has never wavered. And I am pleased today that through their actions, we have officially established the Connecticut State Community College, which will seek accreditation in 2022. Today's actions set a path forward, and with the board's full support and the new interim leadership team in place, I am confident we will be ready to move forward and build our new college. This new leadership team will work closely with campus leaders, faculty, staff, and students, implement guided pathways, align curriculum, implement shared services, and so much more. In addition, they will work closely with NECHI to ensure our future college meets the organization's accrediting standards. Today, we are propelled forward, and I look forward to reports from Dr. Levinson and his team, keeping the board and our community apprised of their progress. As you are aware, we will meet with NECHI to discuss our progress and our transition plan for a single college. This will be virtually, but it will be at the end of June. This will include a focus on the work to be done over the next 2 years to prepare for the first student, to enroll in October of 2022. Dr. Levinson will be joined by a great interim leadership team who will ensure the academic, student, and fiscal affairs structures will be built for the future college. So today I am also pleased to announce the following. David Levinson will be joined at the new college by Dr. Michael Rook, president of Northwestern Community College, who will assume the role of interim provost. As we know, Mike has served the CSU system since 2006 and has held leadership roles at Tungus Community College and Manchester Community College. I greatly appreciate Mike taking on this role in addition to his current responsibilities at Northwestern. Carrie Kelly will join the team as interim chief financial officer, coming to us from the Office of Policy and Management, where she has served in various roles since 2011, most recently as fiscal and program policy section director overseeing education and higher education.
Yeah.
She also worked.
No. I want you to go outside longer.
Excuse me, can we all mute our phones, please? I'm hearing somebody talking. Thank you. She has also worked for the Office of Policy and Management. She has also worked for the Office of Fiscal Analysis. In short, she is a highly respected public finance expert, and I am thrilled she has agreed to join the community college team. In addition, Dr. Tanya Milner, currently the interim chief executive officer at Manchester Community College, will become the interim associate vice president for teaching and learning. Tanya has more than 24 years in teaching and educational administration, including 20 years of teaching. She has the right experience and skill to make a real difference in this role, and I'm excited to bring her on board. This team will be joined by Dr. Francine Rosselli Navarra, Associate Vice President for Curriculum and Programs, and Mike Stefanowitz, Associate Vice President of Higher Education Transition, who are currently coordinating our consolidation efforts and will continue the academic affairs related work for the college, particularly the curriculum alignment efforts underway to prepare one catalog for all community college students. They will be Dr. Allison Buckley, our Vice President of Enrollment Management and Student Affairs, and additional staff who have been part of the system office but are now formally moving to the Connecticut State Community College. I'm very proud of this team, and I look forward to working with them to continue to build the structure over the next few years. Tomorrow at 2 o'clock, there will be a webinar sharing preliminary organizational charts for academic and student affairs. We have been researching state structures, draft organizational charts ready for discussion with groups of stakeholders over the next few months. I encourage you to join the webinar and to invite the presenters led by Dr. Levinson to come to speak to your councils and your campuses to get more information and to provide your input into the future struggle. I'm also pleased that Today, the Academic and Student Affairs Committee will be recommending the Common General Education Core for the Connecticut State Community College. This core lays the foundation for all of the curriculum alignment work that is underway and will be completed for the future college. Much of that curriculum alignment work will take place over the summer, with faculty engaged in review. Additionally, we are ready this summer to begin implementation of the advising policy that the Board of Regents passed last month. This new guided pathways model will strengthen our work with students and be piloted at 3 schools beginning in the fall. The other thing I wanted to just bring the board up to date on was the plans under Reopen Connecticut. As I mentioned in an email to the community and to the last week, I've been asked by the governor to serve as the lead on the state reopening and implementation of the higher education planning effort. The Reopen Higher Education Advisory Committee report was released last week by the governor, and I will be working with the committee and the governor's overall Reopen task force to ensure that the state supports the schools in their efforts to repopulate their campus. As my role as the state lead, I've been also asked by the governor to be his representative on the higher education group as part of the 7-state collaborative that he assembled with the other 6 governors up and down the eastern seaboard. Dr. Pritchard is serving on the advisory committee as well and supporting the work of our 17 institutions as we prepare for our plans. The university presidents and community college regional presidents will be leading statewide steering committees to review the campus plans, look for opportunities to replicate strategies, identify human resource, fiscal facilities, and other challenges, and prepare reports that document our plans for repopulation, monitoring, containment, and closure per the governor's task force. All schools will be required to file plans with the State Department of Public Health, which focus, as I just said, on repopulation, monitoring, containment, and shutdown in the event that becomes necessary. It's important to understand that Governor Lamont shared the criteria developed by the task force for the state's initial reopening, and higher education is included in that sector. This increased hospitalizations, increased testing and contact tracing capabilities, healthcare capacity, and workplace safeguards. The guidelines reflect the science-based and data-driven approach that the state is taking. As I've said repeatedly, we will let the public health guidelines be the measure on which we repopulate our campuses. These will include discussions about when we resume in-person instruction and how we reopen our campuses. What's also important to note is that while Connecticut is a very small state, there is tremendous diversity among our institutions of higher education, both public and independent. With that in mind, the higher education reopen guidelines are not a one-size-fits-all approach. Though they're just a few miles away, Southern Connecticut State University might have significantly different needs than Yale, which might have significantly different needs than Gateway Community College. I know that all of our higher education leaders appreciate the ability to take their own institutional needs into account while working within a very specific framework developed by public health experts. And that's critically important because the health of our students, faculty, staff, and everyone who works on our campuses must and will continue to be our top priority. With that, I'll end my remarks, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
All right, thank you for the detailed update. We have quite a lot to get to, so I think I'm going to consider my remarks as chair having been made in the course of the work we've done today. Does anybody have a question or comment for President Ojekian briefly before we move to the next item? Okay, thank you. Thank you, President Ojekian, and for everybody on the team's work. Of course, just to reiterate my congratulations on behalf of the board to our student regents and to all the students and faculty and staff for the much different but very much worth celebrating commencements that are on the way here. I'm going to request a motion to approve the February 6th, 2020 and April 16th, 2020 meeting minutes. May I have a second?
So moved, it's Naomi, or second, whatever you need.
Yeah, that's our first. We need a second. Sorry.
I'll do second.
All right, great. Any amendments? All in favor on the minutes? Aye.
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 All right. Minutes are approved. Just on the point of minutes, while this is not minuting that we're voting on today from that perspective, I think the secretary wanted to just set one particular right from one of the resolutions concerning the CEO appointments. Aaron?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman, for the opportunity to point this out. It was actually pointed out to me that when I read the final CEO resolution for Housatonic Community College, the CEO, I inadvertently in the resolved referenced Gateway instead of Housatonic Community College. Just wanted to assure that this will be corrected when the minutes and the resolutions are printed.
All right, thank you. We appreciate your diligence. Let's move to the consent agenda. Request a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Any comments concerning or questions concerning the consent agenda? All in favor? Aye.
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 Any opposed? Consent agenda adopted. Thank you. Now we'll turn to the standing committee reports. Academic and Student Affairs, Regent Harris.
Yes, can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Okay. I'm going to be a little longer than I'm sure anyone would want me to be, given the length of time of the meeting, but we have some really important items to discuss today, and one of them, dealing with the general education core, is another really key step in the journey to be a single accredited college. So I want to make sure we spend enough time on that so it's clear to the board we're voting on, and also clear to those on the telephone. I would like to make one comment first, that we did approve 2 resolutions on the consent agenda today. One dealing with research grants for our CSU faculty, and the other naming Richard Horsch as a CSU professor. I'm pointing these 2 items out because I think both of them recognize that our faculty make important contributions to research. Their efforts inform teaching, advance knowledge, and often provide research opportunities for our students. I hope that in the future at a meeting we have time to actually meet some of these professors, but in the meantime, I encourage every board member to skim those resolutions and recognize the really fine and impressive work being done. Now to the agenda. Chairman Fleury, the first action item today is on page 73 of the agenda. It's approval of guidelines for starting new programs, and I will move that item before I summarize the content.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Naomi, second.
Thank you. Go ahead.
As the Academic and Student Affairs Committee has been reviewing new programs in recent months, we have been very concerned about starting these programs in difficult financial times, and I know you'll be hearing more from our Finance Committee Chair about that situation. On the one hand, the Academic and Student Affairs Committee recognizes our fiduciary responsibility. However, we also recognize that we must be innovative and forward-looking and support the workforce needs of our students and our state. Therefore, as we approve new programs, we have asked that institutions assess the appropriate program start date by using the guidelines we recommend for your approval today. These guidelines focus on proposed enrollment goals and time for recruitment, program costs, adequate student-facing support, and ability to offer classes needed to graduate. We don't want to enroll students and find that these students cannot get the courses they need as they move forward. We want all programs to achieve excellence and be sustainable. Therefore, I request your approval of the proposed guidelines.
Thank you. Are there questions, comments? Okay, thanks. Hearing none, you've got a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Are any opposed or abstaining? Okay, the motion carries.
Okay, the next item is the resolution on page 75 of the agenda concerning the general education core for the single community college institution, Connecticut State Community College. May I move that item?
Second from Naomi.
I'll second it.
Okay, can I continue then to discuss it?
Please do. We're just excited to hear it.
I'm sure you are, but this item is key because it's the foundation for all of the work that will be going on in the next 2 years on developing that single catalog that was mentioned. General education is the foundation for all the work for every single student. I want to thank Mike Stefanowicz for leading this effort and keeping me apprised of the progress along the way. I will go through the details of how the 21 to 25 credit general education recommendations were developed in a few minutes. But I want to start by emphasizing why this action is so positive for our students. First, the general education courses will ask students to demonstrate knowledge of fundamental concepts, theories, primary works, skills, and ideas related to the disciplines, and I'll enumerate those disciplines shortly. But the emphasis is always going to be on inquiry and analysis, developing thinking skills. Second, we are confident with this action that general education course credits will not be lost no matter at which community college campus the student takes the course. Unfortunately, this has not always been true in the past, but will be in the future. Third, the courses mesh very nicely with a 30 credit general education requirement under the TAP program. So it's a layered approach, 21 to 25 credits for everyone, but 30 credits for students in transfer programs. I want to emphasize that in accordance with NECHI Standard 315, the primary responsibility, content, quality, and effectiveness of the curriculum and specific courses will rest with the faculty. So the faculty will be developing the course. This is the framework. A few comments on the process used in developing this general education core curriculum, because this process is the same one that we basically used in the TAP program. It mirrors that. We've used it before. And it's important to enumerate the process so you will see all of the involvement on each step. 2 years ago, it's really incredible, in May of 2018, and we're now in May of 2020, Provost Jane Gates charged the Students First Academic and Student Affairs Consolidation Committee to develop a general education curriculum for the Consolidated College. And in the report, you will find names of people that have been working on this committee. The coordinating committee created a general education work group. The work group included elected college representatives from each of our 12 colleges, and additionally 6 volunteer members from the coordinating committee. So the majority of people on that committee were faculty or college representatives, and there were also 6 additional members, some of those also from the campuses. The work group met 8 times between May and September of 2018 and developed a proposal. Campuses had between September 18th and December 1st of 2018 to review and comment. Revisions were made in response to these comments, and you'll see those revisions on page 78. The work group then met with the Transfer and Articulation Policy Framework and Implementation Committee, commonly known as FERC, to assure alignment with the 30-credit general education requirements for transfer programs. The General Education Work Group finalized this proposal in early November 2019, and in mid-November, the Coordinating Committee forwarded to the colleges for endorsement votes. 7 of the colleges were visited by the chair of the Coordinating Committee and a member of the work group to discuss the proposal and to get feedback. The work group convened in April to review all of the endorsement votes and feedback, and this again is all included in the board agenda. The Coordinating Committee approved the proposal in late April and sent it to the College Implementation Committee, which approved the proposal but added back a diversity requirement. This was a proposal sent to us and that we acted on May 1st. I detailed this process because I believe it shows compliance with NECG standards and mirrors the process for transfer articulation, both providing an opportunity for faculty and institutional engagement. Specifically, all students at a minimum will be required to complete 21 to 25 credits of traditional disciplines: English communications, arts and humanities, historical knowledge, mathematics, science, and social behavioral sciences as the areas. And they will demonstrate, students will demonstrate the designated beginning discipline competencies in each area. The staff report, I guarantee, has much more detail than I already provided, and I would be happy to respond to questions.
Thank you, Regent Harris, and thank you for your chairmanship of the committee and for your detailed report, which we do appreciate is, even so, a brief high-level summary reflecting an incredible amount of work and thought over the years of effort. And it just strikes me in hearing your presentation that this really is as important as anything in terms of advancing the system forward. As we've considered everything from naming to leadership today, this is really right up there in achieving our objectives to the benefit of students in our community colleges. So thank you for that. It'll never be celebrated enough, but it's just such an excellent and important start. Are there questions from members of the board?
This is Colina. Hello?
Yes.
Okay.
Hi, we can hear you. Please go ahead.
Great. So not so much questions, but I do want to, before taking action on this, just mention some more things that we discussed at the ASA meeting that I think might be relevant to the decision. So one thing to keep in consideration is that while the core has been laid out, the outcomes that correspond to the categories on that document are under revision, and they won't be complete. That revision won't be complete. I think the estimate is next spring. So there is a sense in which the definitions of the words on the page are yet to be specified. And there's a reason that I bring this up. I'll get to that in a second. Also, the diversity requirement stayed in, but we have not, there was some concern about that because there are no courses vetted for diversity at the moment. No courses have been identified. So I know that there will be a work group who will try to identify those courses very quickly so that work can get underway. But that's yet to be done. We also, I think as of 3 weeks ago, had only just sent out letters to the accreditors of our specially accredited program to find out how this shift in our accreditation, should it happen, would affect those programs. So we don't actually know how it will affect the number of programs that we'll offer in terms of those programs. So, the reason I bring this up is because part of what is in that report is that only 2 colleges in the system actually voted on this proposal and endorsed it. One college did not vote, but at least specified that had they voted, they would not endorse its content, partly because it was a 21 credit core and they had a 30 credit core. There's also some concern about the fact that, though I think it's the 4th whereas on here is about preserving credits when you change majors or transfer, there are up to 4 of the credits in this core vary with program. So there's a real chance that students changing their major can lose significant credits, even among gen ed credits. And I know that programs are going to be encouraged to specify categories of courses, not specific courses, to minimize that effect. But that is a concern, and that was one of the concerns that they raised. The rest of the colleges, the other 9, not only didn't vote and didn't say how they would vote had they voted. And I think this is important because this lays the foundation for aligning hundreds and hundreds of programs. And, standard 3.15 was mentioned, that would require an enormous amount of faculty work. And what is being expressed in those, the report attached a lot those resolutions stating that colleges would not vote. And what is expressed in those resolutions is that faculty and staff feel that these colleges feel that the governance process, over and over it said, is inadequate to the task of building the curriculum for an entire college. Now, when the TAP process was established, it was run by these college governance bodies. It was run by the FAC. And it was agreed upon that that process was appropriate for TAP. But they are saying that it's not appropriate for this. And we can see from the fact that it's at this board meeting that what has happened is that despite the fact that 10 colleges chose to not participate, despite the fact that they've expressed this resistance, this is still going to go through. So it can go through with, there's no threshold of endorsement and there's no threshold of participation for curriculum to go through the entire process and be approved. And that's precisely, I think, voting on this at the moment, I think we just at least need to be aware. Putting it through at this moment is precisely an example of the thing that has caused all of these colleges to choose to not participate in this process. And again, you're going to need these people to work hard, in addition to all that we're experiencing at our colleges, to hold them together at a time like this. You're going to need them to work to get these programs in line. So I worry that doing this just stands as an example of what we've been accused of. And the fact is, like I said, outcomes are still under revision. The diversity requirement is still to be determined, and specially accredited programs are still, we still need to find their status. There is good reason to think hard about this before voting. That's it. Sorry. That was long.
Well, thank you. Appreciate your remarks. Would the committee chair or anybody from the management team wish to respond?
I just want to, it's Merle, as committee chair, I just want to say that that this is the foundation, but as was just pointed out, there's a lot of work to do, and I encourage faculty to engage in doing it. I think that is the intent. There was faculty involvement in the beginning of this process, and I think now is the time to get that work done. And I know there's a lot of work, but if we didn't take this step, it would put off that work for a long period of time.
Okay, thank you. Any other remarks or questions?
Yes, this is David Blitz. I appreciate the fact that the various resolutions were included on pages 86 and following of the agenda, so that we get a clear idea of what are the problems that have been identified by the various governance bodies in the existing and current community colleges. And I note that 9 of the 12 have included resolutions to recall or withdraw their representatives from various consolidation committees. And that seems to me a significant problem that has to be discussed and recognized.
Thank you. Any further comments or questions? Okay. Thank you for the presentation, for all the work behind it, for raising the cautionary notes, of which we are advised. I believe we've got a motion and a second, and I'll call the vote on this item now. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed or abstaining? So the resolution is approved. Thank you. Do you have one more action item?
Yes, and it will be a short one. It's found on page 102 of the agenda. It's a one-time modification of the current Board of Trustee policy regarding criteria for granting an incomplete. And I would ask for a motion to approve. I move this, and I would hope you will get a second to approve it.
Second from Naomi.
Okay. Any discussion?
The modification, excuse me, is a further clarification of action we took at our last meeting that would allow students during the coronavirus pandemic to make up an incomplete. We changed, last time we moved the deadline so that students had more time given the situation. This resolution will allow an academic dean on the campus to make an exception to the requirement that most of the coursework has to be completed in order to allow for the incomplete to be progress to be continued. And we feel that this is really important because sometimes, because of what's happened, students haven't been able to keep up with as work as you might expect during normal times. So I think this is an important action. It's a one-time action, and I urge you to approve it.
Thank you. So noted. Any questions or comments? All in favor? Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Okay, I think it's safe to say that the recommendation is approved. Thank you. Thank you, Merle. I think that wraps the academic and student affairs report. So with that, we have on the agenda the Audit Committee. Regent Wright, thank you for being there. I understand you have no items. Is there anything you'd wish to remark on?
No, nothing to report.
All right, thank you. Finance and Infrastructure, Regent Balducci.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Finance and Infrastructure Committee met on May 1st. We had no action items for today's board. However, we do have an update on the financial implications of the coronavirus, and everybody has that, and hopefully you can look at the different numbers and the percentages, et cetera. CARES Act, I'll just hit a couple of points. I know this is a long meeting. The CARES Act includes 50. I haven't said anything yet. The CARES Act, $54.5 million in funding for the 16 CSU institutions. Charter Oak's ineligible because they're an online institution. Half of that money must go and be distributed to students, and that process is now underway. The U.S. Department of Education added a little caveat in there, which said that only FAFSA filers are eligible for this money, and our president, Marco Jakian, has made a plea to them to allow other students who are not FAFSA filers to be qualified to get funds returned. There's some 30,000 additional students who would be eligible. I would also note that when you look on the sheet that indicates the numbers of ineligible students, Central's had a correction from 47%. The correction was made to be more in line with the other four universities. They are now read as, excuse me, not read, but they are now there as 32% ineligible as opposed to the 47%. CSCU institutions have reported just over $31 million in expenses related to the pandemic. The largest piece of that is the $24 million that has to be returned to students for room and board at the universities. One thing to keep in mind, and that is that the budget has not been amended or changed yet. As you all know, the legislature has adjourned as of May 6th and has not gone back in to take any action, but it's assumed, and I hate to use that word, but that they will return at some point this summer. Hopefully we'll get the dollars that they've assigned to us, and our dollars are up from the previous year from 577 million to 622 million. However, we also should keep in mind that there is the risk of rescissions by the governor if there are real economic problems. And I have an understanding that fiscal years 21 through 23, we could be looking at a $7 billion, that's with a B, $1 billion shortfall in the state budget due to the economic problems that we've had. With that, Mr. Chairman, that concludes my informational report.
Thank you, Regent Balducci. There's going to be some tough days ahead, no question about it. Thanks for keeping us posted on all that it implies. HR and Admin Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We don't have any exhibits or action items. I would just like to report that the HR committee in joint session with the ASA committee will be meeting on May the 22nd. And amongst the items we will be discussing are the new Federal Department of Education regulations regarding sexual misconduct. Ernestine Weaver and her team are working through the 2,000+ page regs, about 25 pages of which are new and which need to be implemented by the system by August, mid-August, I believe. So we'll have work at the next meeting. Thank you.
All right, thank you. To all the regents, you donate your time to this effort extensively and certainly have today. I believe time, the agenda, and battery life necessitate that I ask for a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So moved, Ms. Nail.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you all.
Be well. Thanks, Matt.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for all the hard work.